The honourable member for Thunder Bay Superior North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I speak in the interest of veterans in Thunder Bay Superior North and across Canada. The welfare of Canada's servicemen and women is an issue that cannot be ignored. Our veterans have put their lives on the line in order to protect our country. All too often they come home wounded, disabled, and in need of care. But the Conservative treatment of our vets has been shameful. In February, the government closed 8 Veterans Affairs offices across Canada, including ours in Thunder Bay. 10 staff lost their jobs at our office, as did hundreds more across the country. In my community, we held a town hall meeting to protest those closures and a memorial service for the office on the final day. I know countless veterans and their supporters spoke out at similar events from coast to coast. Veterans traveled to meet the minister, but he brushed them aside. The Conservatives plowed ahead with the closures without a second thought. The Veterans Affairs Office in Thunder Bay served over 2,000 former service members. Our veterans came to the office for assistance with paperwork, much-needed physical and mental health support, employment and training services, and much more. This government is dismissing our men and women once again, telling them to access these services online or be put on hold on the phone. Perhaps the member opposite could explain to me how is one staff member with only general training and no knowledge of Veterans Affairs supposed to do the work of 6 and serve 2,000 people? How will the government provide assistance for aging veterans who are less familiar with computers? How exactly will a 1-800 operator respond to immediate mental health concerns? Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives simply won't face the facts and their mistreatment of veterans. In the fall, Veterans Ombudsman Guy Perron called for the government to address, quote, urgent shortcomings with the changes to the Veterans Charter. The new conservative system of lump sum payments leaves soldiers who have serious injuries at risk for poverty. For the Conservatives, simply ignoring an ombudsman is something of an improvement, however. When the former ombudsman, Pat Stogren, criticized the government's, quote, insurance company mentality in their service of veterans, Conservatives gave him the boot. They would rather silence or even fire veterans advocates than admit their own failures. Things have gotten so bad that wounded veterans have been forced to sue the government just to get the support they need. Instead of standing up for our veterans, the government has argued that they have no responsibility to look after injured veterans. Their refusal to acknowledge their obligation to our men and women who have served is not only disappointing, Mr. Speaker, it's very disturbing. Pat Stogren called the argument ludicrous and contrary to Canadian values. It's truly a sad state of affairs, Mr. Speaker, when veterans who have fought overseas have to fight their own government back home for the compensation they need and deserve. 2,000 veterans were injured during their service in Afghanistan. This government has seen their sacrifice only to snub them when they return home. Mr. Speaker, it's shameful. So I ask again, will this minister reverse these disgraceful cuts to Veterans Affairs and show our former service members the respect they deserve and the services that they need? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome this opportunity to rise in support of our government's continued efforts on behalf of Canada's veterans and their families. Indeed, the Government of Canada's record is clear. We are dedicated to ensuring that we are there for those who have served our great country so well, and that we provide the care and support they need when and where they need it. That, Mr. Speaker, is why we earmarked $785 million more this year for Veterans Affairs Canada compared to what the Department received in 2005. That is why, since 2006, we have invested a combined total of almost $5 billion in new funding to enhance veterans' benefits, programs, and services. Yes, you heard that right, Mr. Speaker, $5 billion. What's more, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to make the necessary improvements to serve veterans better and faster, and in more modern and convenient ways. That's why in 2009, for example, we worked with the Department of National Defense to establish what are called Integrated Personnel Support Centers on major bases across the country. Through this initiative, we now have more than 100 Veterans Affairs employees working alongside their counterparts from National Defense on 24 military bases and wings across the country, as well as at 7 satellite offices. Through this single initiative, we are providing one-stop service to better ensure that veterans and releasing members are fully aware of the help available to them. In addition, veterans can now visit any of the nearly 600 Service Canada locations across the country for information about the services and benefits available to them. Thanks to this partnership with Service Canada, we are providing veterans with more points of contact and greater access to professionally trained frontline staff that is located closer to their homes. As well, in those communities where the local Veterans Affairs office was closed, we've assigned a full-time, permanent Veterans Affairs employee to the nearest Service Canada location. It's also worth noting, Mr. Speaker, that the nearest Service Canada location in Thunder Bay is just 4 kilometers away. In 5 of the other affected communities, the former Veterans Affairs office and the nearest Service Canada site are actually in the same building. Most of all, no matter where veterans live, our government is continuing to provide the home visits, the face-to-face care, the online access and toll-free telephone services they've come to expect and depend upon. Mr. Speaker, some Veterans Affairs Canada offices may have closed, but we haven't gone anywhere. In fact, what we've done is open more doors for veterans and their families, and we're proud of that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.